For this dose of Cinemania, we'll look at which movie cult you should join. We'll delve into the tradition of celebrities lending their voices to animated tales. And we'll check out the top 5 chick flicks from the weepy to the uplifting. All this and more as we look at the silver screen's best and worst in Cinemania. Let's start with a countdown of Cinemania's best cult movies. Can you guess which one will top the list? At number 5 is Dogville, a film by the famously difficult Danish director Lars von Trier. Oscar-winner Nicole Kidman stars as Grace, a woman on the run who winds up in a small town in the Rocky Mountains in the 1930s. The film was shot in Sweden on a soundstage with sparse props and chalk outlines depicting the homes in the fictitious community.
To make a path between the bushes.
They were put up there to protect the bushes. It's not supposed to be a pathway.
But everyone goes this way.
Yeah, that's right. They've been living here for years. You haven't been here that long.
Dogville, the first of von Trier's proposed trilogy, provoked controversy on the festival circuit for its unique look and for its alleged anti-American story that depicts a small and sadistic town that takes cruel advantage of the character played by Kidman.
Just a little way, and that's the end of a really sort of strange, quite beautiful experience.
Von Trier's Depression-era fairy tale garnered many fans for its idealism and invention, and that's why Dogville comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 on Cinemania's Best Cult Movies list is Fernando Meirelles' fierce debut film City of God, a look at violence and truth in the streets of Brazil that both shocks and dazzles. Based on the book by Paulo Lin, the movie is set in 1960s Rio de Janeiro, where gun-wielding teens fight for control to sell drugs in the street. It's a place called City of God, where guns are as omnipresent as drugs, and it has degenerated into a war zone so dangerous that walking the streets could end in death. The movie traces the neighbourhood's decline over a decade and a half, from a sun-baked shantytown where the children play happily into shadowy slum.
The New York Times proclaims irresistible, an exuberant chronicle.
City of God was filmed documentary style and is frightening, thrilling and funny, which is why it comes in on the list at number 4. Taking the number 3 spot in our Best Cult Movies list is American Splendor, a film that brings the saga of cult American cartoonist Harvey Pekar to life. Pekar is a bona fide American original, a working-class everyman who pursues self-expression without censorship. Before the reality TV craze and before webcams, Harvey's life was documented in a homegrown autobiographical comic book series called American Splendor, which puzzles over the ordinary details of everyday life.
I have all these food allergies to vegetables, which give me serious intestinal distress. I guess I have a lot of borderline health disorders that limit me politically when it comes to eating.
Wow, you're a sick woman.
Pekar's life eventually makes him a cult figure and throws him into the limelight with TV appearances on shows like David Letterman and a stage adaptation of his life, which is why American Splendor comes in at number 3.
But how can love last through tears?
Taking Cinemania's second place on our list of top cult movies is Donnie Darko. The film, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, has so far defied definitive explanation, leaving fans to draw their own conclusions about the puzzle set on film by director Richard Kelly.
What can we do?
I would like to do more hypnotherapy and increase his medication.
The suburban satire is set in the late 1980s, where high school teen Donnie Darko is plagued by visions of a giant rabbit called Frank, who offers a countdown to the imminent end of the world. Fans have come up with a variety of possible interpretations of the movie, and their enthusiasm kept the film in cinemas for 3 years. The cult hit movie has spawned countless arguments over its cryptic plot, and that's why Donnie Darko is at number 2. He lived the American dream with a vengeance. That's right, Scarface is Cinemania's number 1 cult movie. Brian De Palma's blood and sun-drenched saga was first released in 1983 and hailed for Al Pacino's towering performance as the Cuban immigrant, Tony Montana.
It's ugly, man. Yeah.
You tell your guys in Miami, your friend, it'd be a pleasure. I kill a communist for fun.
The film has since become a cult classic, resulting in a widespread influence on generations of audiences and directors. It follows the rise of Montana, a Cuban immigrant who, along with his friend Manny Ray, builds a strong criminal empire in early 1980s Miami.
Okay. You want to play games? Okay.
Scarface built an ardent and devoted following among its audience, firmly entrenching itself into pop culture. And that's why Scarface is Cinemania's number 1 cult movie.
You want to play rough? Okay.
Ellen DeGeneres played a fish, and Whoopi Goldberg once played a hyena. They didn't sit through hours of grueling makeup or wear ridiculous costumes, though. They have both lent their voices to animated films. For superhero tale The Incredibles, Holly Hunter joined the team as Elastigirl, idealised for her super stretching limbs.
We're superheroes. What can happen?
The Shrek films have perhaps the most extensive array of voiceover talent in Hollywood. The all-star lineup of Shrek 2 included Mike Myers, who does the voice of the Green Ogre, and Cameron Diaz, who does the voice of Shrek's bride, Princess Fiona.
Love, Mom and Dad.
Royal ball? We're not going.
Eddie Murphy and Antonio Banderas also star as the voices of the film's lovable animal characters, Donkey and Puss in Boots. Brit claymation stars Wallace and Gromit feature in their first full-length movie, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, with a little bit of help from Ray Fiennes and Helena Bonham Carter.
I fell out of bed.
How'd you get all the way over there?
Chicken Little features the voices of Zach Braff, Gary Marshall, Joan Cusack and Steve Zahn, while Ewan McGregor led the voice cast of the first CGI animated feature made in Britain, Valiant.
They delivered. That boys.
With many established stars contributing their oral talents behind the scenes, the world of animated movies looks set to thrive.
No, thanks.
Time to count down Cinemania's greatest fantasy films, from the lovable to the creepy to the mythical and the magical. Cinemania's 5th greatest fantasy film is old classic Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Tim Burton directed Johnny Depp in a re-imaging of the 1971 original starring Gene Wilder. Both are based on Welsh author Roald Dahl's children's novel, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Back off, you little freaks!
I do say that all seemed rather rehearsed.
You're really weird.
While the film dropped the Anthony Newley score of the original, still to be found are Oompa Loompas and bratty kids, and chocolate. Lots of chocolate. The film tells the story of the eccentric chocolate maker and the generous-hearted boy Charlie Bucket, who lives with his poverty-stricken family a stone's throw from Wonka's extraordinary and mysterious chocolate factory.
Candy doesn't have to have a point. That's why it's candy.
Charlie finds himself joining a group of less savoury children who are about to discover the fantastic delights and the dangers of Wonka's world. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remains a classic to a generation known for its nostalgic sweet tooth, and that is why it comes in at number 5.
Wow!
At number 4 on Cinemania's list of the greatest fantasy films is Big Fish.
It's impossible to separate fact from the fiction, the man from the myth.
The movie tells a story that revolves around a dying father and his son, who is trying to learn more about his dad by piecing together the stories he has gathered over the years.
Was that I was intended for larger things. I was the biggest thing Ashton had ever seen.
Edward Bloom has always been a teller of tall tales about his oversized life as a young man. His mythic exploits are both delightful and delirious as he weaves giant tales about giants, a witch, and conjoined twin lounge singers. His stories charm almost everyone he encounters, except for his estranged son, Will.
In telling the story of my father's life,
Bravo Company, go!
Doesn't always make sense, but that's what kind of story this is.
Through increasingly outlandish tales, father and son are reunited. And that's why Big Fish is Cinemania's number 4 fantasy film. If The Wizard of Oz were reborn in the 21st century, it might look a lot like Mirror Mask, the film at number 3 on Cinemania's greatest fantasy films list. A product of the Jim Henson Laboratory, Mirror Mask is a combination of dazzlingly designed and executed digital animation and live action. The story centres on Helena, a 15-year-old girl in a family of circus entertainers who often wishes she could run off and join real life.
The balance was broken.
On the eve of her mother's major surgery, she dreams that she is in a strange world with 2 opposing queens, bizarre creatures, and masked inhabitants. All is not well in this new world. The White Queen has fallen ill and can only be restored by the Mirror Mask, and it's up to Helena to find it.
We had a party.
But as her adventure continues, she begins to wonder whether she's in a dream or something far more sinister. And that's why Mirror Mask is at number 3. At number 2 on Cinemania's list is one of the most loved magical fantasy films of all time, E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Phone home. E.T. Phone home.
The quote, E.T. Phone Home, was even listed at number 15 on the American Film Institute's Top 100 Movie Quotes. E.T. moved audiences around the world in 1982 and helped launch Steven Spielberg's career into dizzying heights. The film tells the tale of Elliot, a lonely 10-year-old boy who finds an alien in his backyard. The two begin to communicate and start a different kind of friendship in which E.T. learns about life on Earth and Elliot learns the true meaning of friendship. The film also launched the career of 6-year-old newcomer Drew Barrymore, who captured hearts as Gertie. Barrymore went on to battle drugs and alcohol, but is now a powerful name in Hollywood. E.T. continues to enthrall audiences decades after its release, and that is why it's number 2 on Cinemania's list of greatest fantasy films. Finally, taking the top position on Cinemania's list of greatest fantasy films is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. After venturing forth from paradise to traverse Middle-earth, Frodo and company push closer to hell in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Look for your friends, but do not trust to hope. It has forsaken these lands.
Give him the sword of the king.
Become who you were born to be.
Jackson's prodigious adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's epic trilogy of good and evil took Hollywood by storm.
Come to me.
The order's set. The pieces are moving.
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King tied 1959's Ben-Hur and 1997's Titanic with the most Oscar victories ever for a single movie, and Return of the King became the first fantasy film ever to win the Best Film Oscar.
I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me.
Jackson made movie history by filming all three parts of the Rings trilogy simultaneously. The first two films earned a combined $1.8 billion and a total of 6 Oscars. And that's why Lord of the Rings is Cinemania's greatest fantasy film.
We fight!
Director Ang Lee has a history of being a trailblazer both in subject matter and cinematic style. Lee has directed a remarkably diverse series of films, including martial arts epic Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and comic book adaptation The Incredible Hulk.
Visit from some friends of mine.
You pathetic freak.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is considered one of Lee's greatest works and is America's highest-growing foreign language film and won Lee many BAFTAs and Academy Awards. Lee decided to take on a small-budget, low-profile independent film based on Annie Proulx's Pulitzer Prize-winning short story, Brokeback Mountain. The 2005 movie about the forbidden love between two Wyoming cowboys immediately caught public attention and initiated intense debates. The film was critically acclaimed at major international film festivals and won Lee numerous Best Director and Best Film awards worldwide. Brokeback Mountain was nominated for a leading 8 Oscars, with Lee winning Best Director, becoming the first Asian ever to win the award. Time to find out which movies made it onto Cinemania's top chick flicks list. Coming in at number 5 is Before Sunset, a film that reunites Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in a sequel of Before Sunrise, hailed by critics as an unconventional love story.
Do I look any different?
9 years ago, Hawke and Delpy's characters meet by chance on a train and spend a night together in Vienna. They part before sunrise, and now they're about to cross paths again in Paris, where they will get the chance to find out what might have been.
I want to see if you stay together or if you dissolve into molecules.
When they unexpectedly meet again, she lives in Paris and he lives in New York. He's flying out that evening, so they decide to spend every moment reconnecting and finding their connection no less vital, inspiring or real than it was 9 years ago.
Let's please, but you know.
I know. I think a cat slept on my head last night.
So I saw your picture.
Filled with engaging dialogue, Before the Sunset is a witty, poignant romance that looks at the age-old question, what if you had a second chance with the one that got away? And that's why Before Sunset comes in at number 5.
Until I saw your photo, so.
Coming in at number 4 on Cinemania's list of top chick flicks is The Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood.
Not even.
Well, it felt longer.
You'd think Hollywood would jump at the chance to turn a best-selling novel into a movie. Think again. In the case of The Divine Secrets of the Ya-Ya Sisterhood, it took the begging of one passionate producer and a small group of relentless females to bring the 1997 cult novel about the friendship of 4 eccentric US Southern women to the screen.
Ya-Ya! I've been in therapy for 15 years with a professional. She's the one that needs the help. I am so tired of her tantrums.
Why? Because Ya-Ya had the derisory term chick flick written all over it, and even though women make up half the population, Hollywood still needed convincing that chicks bring in big bucks.
Yaya.
Yeehaws!
Oh my God!
The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood looks at the complex bonds and relationships we create with our friends and family, and that's why it's at number 4.
And I will kick it.
Coming in at number 3 is the romantic comedy Must Love Dogs. Dating has never been easy. The time-honoured search for a soulmate has always been 1 part humiliation, 2 parts aggravation, and a little blind luck thrown in for the very fortunate.
Guy in them.
I've been on 17 first dates this year. No second dates.
Based on Claire Cook's best-selling romance novel, Must Love Dogs follows a recent divorcee, played by Diane Lane, into the world of personal ads and dating. Eventually, she stumbles across another reluctant romantic, John Cusack, who just may be Mr. Right.
I answered my own father's personal ad. This is disturbing on so many levels.
I'm not answering an internet ad. Voluptuous and sensuous, must love dogs. How she is appealing.
You're meeting her tomorrow at 11. Bring a dog.
Must Love Dogs follows the comic, bumpy and ultimately rewarding journey of a woman cautiously rediscovering romance and learning to trust her instincts. And that's why it's at number 3 on Cinemania's list of top chick flicks.
I don't think I'm ready for him.
She's a mess. It's fantastic.
Coming in at number 2 as Cinemania counts down to the best chick flick is The Hours. Combining the very different lives of 3 women, 3 eras and 3 stories, The Hours packs a powerful intellectual punch that examines the lines between love, happiness and death.
That is what we do. That is what people do. They stay alive for each other.
What about your own life? Just wait till I die, and you'll have to think of yourself.
The Hours, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Michael Cunningham, follows a day in the life of 3 women, all connected by Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway.
So trivial.
It only matters if you think it's true.
My life has been stolen from me.
Virginia, you have an obligation to...
With a top-flight cast headlined by Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore and Nicole Kidman, the film generated intense Oscar buzz, earning Kidman a Best Actress Oscar.
To show him that we love him.
At the heart of this moving film is the trio of award-winning actresses who grace the screen with their awe-inspiring performances. And that is why The Hours is at number 2. And now it's time for Cinemania's number 1 top chick flick, Bridget Jones's Diary.
Bridget, I think you should go to the ladies. Trust me on this one.
Can a single woman over 30 who smokes too much, drinks too much, and has a tendency to say whatever comes into her mind find her place in the world and a man?
You know, I never really understood why you wanted to go out with me. I embarrass you. I can't ski. And yes, I will always be just a little bit fat.
Bridget, this is mad.
Bridget Jones, played by Renee Zellweger, is an average woman struggling against her age, her weight, her job, her lack of a man, and her many imperfections.
Carbohydrates.
Ever thought about doing it in the dark?
The film was such a success it spawned a sequel. In Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason, Bridget is not only in love, but trapped once again between possible marriage candidate Mark Darcy and sexy cad Daniel Cleaver.
There was a very important question I wanted to ask you, despite events and circumstances and perhaps...
The original movie Bridget Jones's Diary soared with moviegoers around the globe, eventually grossing more than $280 million worldwide, establishing the film as one of the biggest British motion pictures ever made, which is why it's Cinemania's number 1 chick flick. That's all we've got time for. Be sure to tune in next time for your dose of Cinemania.
It's not about looks.